that's how we treat our business every day, right? We're never satisfied with being okay or just okay. We do want to be the best at what we do. We felt that if we found the right place to raise heifers, that might springboard into something in the dairy industry as well. We don't cut corners. We're calf growers in Southwest Kansas with Midwest mentality. We do what the animals require. Anybody that's crazy enough to get in this business, you know that they're passionate about it. And so we try to support it in any way we can, whatever that looks like.
Welcome to Holstein Connections, where we share the latest stories, insights, and news from Holstein Association USA and beyond. The largest dairy cattle breed association in the world, Holstein Association USA provides leadership, information, and services to help dairy producers worldwide be successful. Whether you're in the barn, on the road, or just tuning in for your dose of dairy news, we're glad you're here. This is Holstein Connections. Hello, Holstein enthusiasts. Today, I'm excited to introduce a leader whose career reflects service, innovation, and advocacy across the dairy industry. I'm joined by Nic Schoenberger, who was recently named the Young Dairy Leaders Institute's Distinguished Alumni Award winner. The Holstein Foundation's Young Dairy Leaders Institute, or YDLI, is the premier leadership and development program in the dairy industry. The Distinguished Alumni Leader Award honors a graduate who has demonstrated exceptional leadership and a lasting commitment to advancing dairy. Nic is a YDLI Class 4 alum and has built a career that spans many facets of the dairy industry. He and his wife, Christine, reside in Kiel, Wisconsin, where they operated Greendale Dairy from 2004 until 2021. In 2018, they also entered a partnership to form Kansas Dairy Development, a calf ranch and heifer development facility located in Deerfield, Kansas. Today, we're honored to have the 2026 Distinguished Alumni Leader Award recipient with us. Nic, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Emily. Glad to be here.
Nic, I understand that you didn't necessarily come from a traditional farm or dairy farming background. Let's start by learning a little bit more about how you found your way to the incredible dairy industry that we're both in today.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. Not a traditional farm kid by any means. Born here in Wisconsin, 10 miles from where we live today. Little did I know, my wife was born a year behind me in March. And when I was 10 years old in 1979, my family moved to Tampa, Florida. My dad was in retail sporting goods, and we lived on the outskirts of Hillsborough County, and there was still quite a bit of dairy located in that area. We were fortunate enough to have a neighbor that invited us on a dove hunt to the McMullen Dairy, and that was my first exposure to the Holstein cow. And for some reason, I fell in love with Holsteins.
Well, who would have thought a duck hunt would have led to your love of Holstein cows and your future in the dairy industry?
Absolutely.
So, Nic, tell us then about the winding path that your career has taken over the years and how you ended up where you are today.
Sure. So junior high and high school sports kind of took that hobby away from me. And it was actually a career counselor in junior college there in Hillsborough that had asked me what if I had any dream, ultimate dream that I had that I just didn't think would ever be attainable. And I had told her that, I had a passion for cattle, but really didn't have any kind of family background in it. I didn't have any kind of relationships out there. And she exposed me to the world at University of Florida in the dairy science program. So went to University of Florida, graduated in 1994. In the summer of 93, we had to do an internship, and we had some family and some friends up here in Wisconsin. And I was fortunate enough to be introduced to the Koppelman family, which I think Pete was in one of the first YDL classes. And so
Yes.
I spent the summer with the Koppelmans, learned a lot. They had asked me what my intentions were upon graduating in 94. And I, at that time, really didn't have any plans. And so they had offered, a position if I was willing to return to Wisconsin. And so a year later, upon graduating, I think I took a couple of weeks off and was back up here in May of that summer to start my career in the dairy industry.
So tell us a little bit more about after you had those internships and had kind of gotten your foot in the door. gotten to build your network in the dairy industry a little bit. Where did your career take you from there, Nick?
Sure, sure. So when I started at Koppelman's, of course, a recent graduate of college, come up here, you have no friends, and you start working, and you're just so motivated and focused on your career that you don't realize that you need a social life as well. And the Koppelman's encouraged me to get out. They took me to a June Dairy Month banquet that was hosted here in the county, and I was fortunate enough to meet my wife, who was serving as Miss Farm Bureau for Manitowoc County at the time. And then, unfortunately, it was in a farm accident that caused me to be laid up for the summer and not work. So we started to speed date, and she came from a farm again that we're on today. And lo and behold, a year and a half later, we were married. And at that time, you just felt like, hey, it's just a natural progression to move from working for somebody to working for your in-laws. And much like probably other people that are out in the dairy industry, know working with family isn't as easy as it's meant to be or is supposed to be. And so I found myself in kind of an awkward position. They had a small farm, pretty basic. There just wasn't a whole lot of room for extra help. And so we realized that, my in-laws realized that. And at the same time, there was the Ulnes family, which is in Valdez, Wisconsin. They had tragically lost their dad and husband. And Angie Ulnes happens to be another YDLI graduate. But at the time, her and Mark were in college at the University of Wisconsin. So a close personal friend, Ron Sickinger, had put me in touch with that family. And that was my first introduction into a tie stall barn. So I went from freestall backwards to a tie stall and learned a whole new different side of the dairy industry. At that time, Christine was pregnant with our first daughter, Nicole, and I was spending an awful lot of time working. And it was apparent that we found ourselves in another awkward position. So we decided maybe dairy just wasn't meant for me. So I tried the sales route, and I wanted to stay within agriculture. Friend that was working at Sargento Foods down in Plymouth, Wisconsin, and I was offered a food service sales position. And I really thought, hey, this is something related to agriculture. I'm selling food service cheese across the country, and that really gave me the opportunity to be exposed to the broader part of the United States. So I ended up, my territory was west of Colorado, so I spent quite a bit of time in California, in Washington, in the state of Colorado, and really kind of broadened my horizons. At the same time, still had a passion for the farm, still was interested in cattle, and was fortunate enough to, I believe in 2000, land a job at ABS Global out of DeForest, a sales manager's position up here in Northeast Wisconsin. Didn't require me to move, but it really gave me the opportunity to stay closer to home. And then meet, which is now some of our clients within the industry, really gave me the opportunity to get on some farms, see what people were doing in the early 2000s. And then, that just kind of gave me that boost to want to come back to the farm. And at that time, 6-7 years makes a difference in people's lives. My father-in-law at that time was ready to step back. My brother-in-law was just entering the industry. So it really gave us that springboard to kind of jump in. So in 2004, we bought the dairy, and over the years, we took it from 200 cows to 700 when we sold the farm in 2021.
Well, what a beautiful journey that you had, and mentored by many great registered Holstein breeders and members of ours, it sounds like, and really got to experience many different facets of the dairy and agricultural industry. Now, Nick, you are a partner in Kansas Dairy Development. I'm curious to learn more about that calf and heifer raising facility and what that looks like for you.
Right. In 2015, Christine and I were exposed to the first time, introduced to some people from Southwest Kansas through another trip that we had taken out to the farm show out in California. And they were looking to attract dairy producers out there as an economic development type situation. And we thought at the time, because we were probably 10 or 15 years behind the expansion here in Wisconsin, and we were kind of landlocked, we really felt that if we were going to stay in the dairy industry, that it might not be here at home. It might be somewhere else. So we were open to that. part of the drive was our heifers had, uh, back in 2010, our heifers were out in Greeley, Colorado at a heifer grower. And the first time I had ever visited that, I fell in love with that concept of heifers being raised outdoors on dirt. And I really had a strong desire to eventually want to do that. And we felt that if we found the right place to raise heifers, that might springboard into something in the dairy industry as well. And if our kids had chose to do this and follow in our footsteps, that would maybe give them an opportunity for the future. So started that journey in 2015, was fortunate enough to meet up with my current partner, Jason Schamberg, in probably 2017. And him and I started this journey along with, I guess, 7 other fantastic partners that are so supportive of us. And we're looking for the right place, the right place that blended the weather conditions, labor, and the access to feed. And we found that place in Deerfield, Kansas. It was a small yard at that time, but they did raise some calves. They had great water, they had great availability to feed, and they had a great labor force. And so 2018, we opened the doors, and I believe we had just shy of 30,000 animals at that time. And little did we know the demand that people were looking for baby calves as well as heifers. And today we stand at just over 106,000 animals with 280 employees. And it's been
Wow.
a fantastic journey.
Wow, absolutely. So, what keeps you up at night when it comes to ensuring that your operation runs successfully both today and in the future?
I would say that the things that we can't control, and weather is probably the biggest. We picked Southwest Kansas because for the most part, ambient temperatures are good. Rainfall is on the shorter side, and severe weather it just doesn't happen often. So I would say weather because it's out of our control, and we can do, if weather's on our side, we can have a great stretch of healthy calves, thriving heifers, and we look like heroes. And we could have a couple weeks of just nasty weather that unfortunately everyone in the industry knows what happens when cattle are in those types of situations. So I guess weather would be the biggest factor because again, we've been blessed with really good labor and the ability to do what we need to do. It's the things that you can't control, and weather is one of those. And that was when we dairied in Wisconsin, right? I mean, our winters they could be rough. They could be rough stretches. Of course, with all technology today, it's gotten a whole lot easier. We've closed the barns back up. We've tunnel ventilated things. We've done all the things that we can do to control the cow's environment. So it has gotten better from that standpoint, but weather still is one that just last night in particular, right? The wind keeps you up at night. You can hear it.
Absolutely. Yes, Nick and I are visiting on a cold Midwestern day today. It's cold and windy.
Join us in celebrating the people who make the dairy community great with the Day of the Dairy Leader on February 10th. Day of the Dairy Leader commemorates the day Young Dairy Leaders Institute first met on February 10th, 1994. Since then, close to 800 young adults have gone through the world-renowned Leadership Development Program. We invite you to join us this year on February 10th in celebrating by one or all of 3 ways. 1, make a donation. Contribute to the Holstein Foundation in support of their impactful efforts to educate and train the next generation of dairy leaders. Make a one-time gift or set up a recurring donation online. 2, show your spirit. Share your YDLI pride on social media using the hashtag Day of the Dairy Leader. 3, engage with your community. Volunteer your leadership and advocacy skills with community organizations you care about. Thanks for celebrating the Day of the Dairy Leader on February 10th.
So, Nick, maybe weather aside, what do you think the key to raising good calves and heifers? What are the keys for you being successful there?
Well, I tell you, it's our environment, our location. I can't emphasize that enough. Down there in Southwest Kansas, with less than 15 inches of moisture, I think we on average probably get 280 days of sunshine and just good weather. and what we do for the calves. And we don't cut corners. We're calf growers in Southwest Kansas with Midwest mentality. We do what the animals require. We don't cut corners. We provide those animals every opportunity to succeed. And we're not gonna pinch pennies to make sure that we've got 70 clients across 10 different states that rely on us to provide them with a healthy pregnant heifer to come home. And we work hard every single day trying to provide that to them.
Sounds like a great setup and a great attitude that you and all the partners and people who work there have, I'm sure. When you hang up your hat at the end of the day, Nick, what makes it a good day for you?
I can honestly say that I never hang my hat up. It seems that we go to bed. We go to bed with our hat on because we're always thinking. We're always thinking about that next thing. We're always thinking about how we can do things better. We're always worried about things. We're always concerned about things. It seems like we're always planning for things. So I guess I never quite hang the hat up because I'm never quite satisfied. I guess that's how we treat our business every day, right? We're never satisfied with being okay or just okay. We do want to be the best at what we do.
The true spirit of someone in the dairy industry, I think, right? Never
Right.
quite hanging your hat up at the end of the day.
I look forward to that someday, but it's not there yet.
Absolutely. So, Nick, maybe shifting gears a little bit here. I understand that you are pretty involved in the Farm Wisconsin Discovery Center. Tell me a little bit more about what that is and how you stay involved there.
Sure, we were blessed to have one of the best, I would say, dairy extension agents in the entire state of Wisconsin with Scott Gunderson. And Scott was the type that when he called, you took the phone call because it was usually something that he either wanted to ask your opinion of or he wanted you to get involved with something. So he had called Norval Dvorak and his family to back up just a little bit. We're selling digesters to the group down in Indiana, and he had seen their discovery center down there and came back, and quite frankly he was embarrassed that the state of Wisconsin have something to compete with it. And so he was on the rampage to do something here in the state of Wisconsin. It just so happened to be in Manitowoc where he resided. And he got Scott involved. And of course, Scott called me and you couldn't say no to Scott. And so we made a couple trips down to Fair Oaks, visited with the people, came back, and it really took several years. I think 2018 is when the doors finally opened on the Discovery Center. So had a lot to do with on the fundraising side of things, a lot of trips to Madison. We were fortunate enough to get a grant that really catapulted us. That was a $5 million, non-state agency matching grant that to get the 5 million had to raise 5 million. So it was easy at the time to go out to our supporters and say, hey, look, the state's willing to give us. So $12.5 million project. And here we sit 8 years later there with that, and proud that the center is going. COVID definitely kicked us in the butt a little bit, and we've had some recovery from that, but we've got an excellent staff of individuals there at the center, and I try to do whatever we can do to support them.
Wonderful. Well, what a great thing to offer your community and people in Wisconsin, because Wisconsin is really a place where agriculture is at the heart of so many things too, I think. So,
Correct. Right.
Nick, what other sorts of volunteer activities or advocacy efforts are you enjoying today?
Sure. Well, our 19-year-old she has Down syndrome, and so we were introduced 19 years ago to the special needs community. And so between Special Olympics, Miracle on the Lake Shore, and different events that she has gotten us involved in, we try to chase her around to a lot of those different things. Of course, the kids are all adults now, but we had 25 years plus in 4-H with not only dairy projects, but we had lamb projects, we had hog projects, we had beef projects. And so some of those things are winding down. I'm actually happy that some of those things, we had great times. Those are great memories with our family. But now we're on the supportive side of advocacy. We try to support local, whether it be here in Wisconsin or we do quite a bit down in Southwest Kansas as well. So different groups, different organizations in the community, we try to support them financially as much as possible.
Absolutely. And cherish memories with your 4 kids and all their activities over the past 25 years too, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So, Nick, now going on to YDLI, that's one of the reasons that you and I are visiting today, right? You were a part of YDLI Class 4. So, really, when we look at the history of, we've had 13 classes. That was kind of in the first group of classes there. So the core values of YDLI remain very much the same, but of course the projects and workshops have changed a little bit over the
Right.
years as times changes. But take us back to YDLI Class 4. What do you remember from your experience?
What I took away from that, and it was funny because we were going through things down in our basement when we sold the farm in 2021 and we moved across the street. There was only so much space and I didn't have as much room in my office for different things. So I had taken quite a few binders and books and things back home, and we were cleaning up the basement, and I still have my 3-ring binder from YDLI, and that was one of the things that Christine was asking, well, what should we do with this? And I said, well, for years I had that was the first time that somebody had ever challenged us actually to write a personal mission statement. We all do it for our businesses. We all do it for companies. We all do it for different nonprofit groups that we're involved in, but I'd never been asked really to do something personally, and forgot that that sat over my office over at the dairy until we sold it. And then I put it back in that binder. So I had just, for whatever reason, before realizing that was awarded this excellent opportunity to represent the alumni of YDLI, had pulled that out and read it. And as you read it, it's come true. It really has come true.
Well, what a good reminder for the rest of us YDLI alum to pull out our mission statements that we wrote and read it and see how we're doing on them. So
Absolutely.
I'm only a year out of graduating, so I should remember mine at
It's
the
fresh.
top of my head. Yes, yes.
25 years, things become cloudy.
Save that piece of paper though, right? So,
Right.
how did YDLI impact you at that time, and how do you think it has continued to influence your career or your advocacy efforts going forward, Nick?
I think the people that attended, your peers there, and then the skills that you came away with, that whether it be communication, government relations, things like that, it took those barriers down and really opened you up to want to participate in that stuff. It's so easy to get into your own little world, especially on the dairy side of things, when it's so time consuming that at the end of the day, you really, whether it be the energy or the want to get involved in different things, that really opened my eyes that it is our purpose, it is our mission to be here and to advocate for ourselves, right? And for others. And some are comfortable with it, some others aren't. And it doesn't matter, whether you do it one time or you do it 100 times. It's important to put yourself out there.
Absolutely. So, Nick, you mentioned earlier some of the volunteering or the supporting that you do. How would you mentor the next generation of dairy leaders?
We try to do it with our actions. As we've grown at KDD, we're trying to open up some different avenues for internships to really attract those next level people that, whether or not they're there for a summer or they're looking for a career in what we do. I try to be open, try to make time for people. Gosh, anybody that's crazy enough to get in this business, that they're passionate about it. And so we try to support it in any way we can, whatever that looks like.
Absolutely. I'm sure that would be a wonderful experience for any college age student who's looking to get into doing something like that. And so, Nick, what does it mean to you to be named the Distinguished Alumni Award winner?
First of all, it's humbling. It's certainly been an interesting journey to have people remember and nominate you as something. Again, I said it when we sold the farm in 21, the phone calls stopped coming, the salespeople stopped coming around. And again, our life has changed to a different direction because we're in a totally different business. But sometimes you reflect back on, like, gosh, did we make an impact, or were we just kind of a blip over the last 21 years? What really happened? So it truly is humbling to have your peers acknowledge you for something like this. And it couldn't be more appreciative to YDLI. Absolutely.
Well, we're very, very glad that you're in the dairy community with the rest of us, Nick, and you'll be honored at YDLI during class 14, so 10 classes after
Thank
you in phase 1, coming up here in February in Texas. We are part of nearly 800 alumni of the YDLI program today, and Nick, we're proud to have you as one of them. Before we wrap up the interview here, is there any piece of your story that you missed talking about or anything that you'd like to add here?
No, once again, I thank you guys. Thanks to YDLI. Thanks to the many people that are on the committee that put all of these on. I know it's a ton of work. Thanks to the presenters that are at every one of these leadership conferences. I remember a few of them, and it takes an effort to put these things on. And again, what you're doing, the intention for it for these young people, you may not realize it now. Of course, it's easy for me to reflect now this many years later that, the impact that it has made on my career.
Wonderful. And Nick, now we're going to end with 5 quick would you rather this or that type questions. So are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. Do you prefer early morning milking or late night barn check?
Late night barn check, always quiet,
Very true. Peaceful sometimes, right?
right?
Ice cream cone or ice cream sundae?
Sunday, you got to mix the chocolate.
Barn cat or farm dog?
Oh, we've got 5 farm dogs, so farm dogs
Oh,
are it.
wow. Summer heat or winter cold?
I'll take the summer heat. Take the
Summer heat over a cold day like today, right? And then country music or classic rock?
Chris Stapleton on Sirius XM. It's on
Love
my
it.
truck 24/7,
Very specific.
right?
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nick.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Holstein Connections. Whether you're in the barn, on the road, or just tuning in for your dose of dairy news, we're glad you're here. Until next time, this is Holstein Connections.